Haseyo. I'm going to teach you how to play Tear in My Heart by 21 Pilots. The chords you will need are a D, an F sharp, followed by a G, an A7, a regular A, and a B minor. So the intro starts off with 3 alternate strums on the D, the F sharp, and then 2 on the G. So it goes something like this. So the intro is going to do that twice, and then the first verse rolls in, and on the first verse he does that twice again when he's saying the words, and then when he says when it takes someone to come around, that's when you switch to the A7 chord, and then that's the first verse. So altogether it would be but it takes someone to come around to show you how. And then the first chorus comes in. For the first chorus, you're going to do G, A, and then B minor, A, and then D, A. So it goes. And then at the end of the chorus he says, "Than I've ever been. I'm higher than I've ever been." So then he plays the intro part again after that. Then he starts up with the second verse, and the verse also has that. If you played another 2 times. And then when it takes somebody to come around, the A7 again. This is for the second verse. And then basically all the verses stay the same. So verse 1 is the same as verse 2, is the same as almost the same as verse 3. There's a little bit. I'll talk about that. And then the second chorus rolls around, and it's the same thing until instead of going back to the intro at the end of the chorus, like instead of going back to that, he says "Than I've ever been." He keeps on dragging the note "Than I've ever been." So I'm just gonna play through that and explain what I mean. So it goes G, A, B minor, A, D, then he says "Than I've ever been," and then you switch to a G, and "Than I've ever been," then he switches to a B minor, "Than I've ever been, than I've ever been." So he keeps on dragging the "Than I've ever been," and you switch to G, then a B minor, then a D. So basically the first chorus is the exact same thing as the second chorus, but you do that little extra thing at the end where you hold "Than I've ever been," and you play a G, B minor, D. And then the little bridge comes in, and he goes, "Oh, oh, oh, oh," and then he does kind of like a rap part, like he's talking. And when you do that, you palm mute, and you can play a D. And the rhythm doesn't really matter as long as you can sing along to it if you're doing like a cover. So something like this. You fell asleep in my car, I drove the whole time, but that's okay, I'll just avoid the hole so you see fine. So you just palm mute that D. And then after that, he rolls back into a third verse, which instead of playing, he does it once per note. So he goes, and he's much softer in his voice. So he does that twice, and then on the third one he goes back to the original beat, which is, and then you go back to the A7, "When it takes somebody to come around to show you how." Then the last chorus, and it ends the song. Basically, this is it's a little harder because it's a lot more structured. So he does the, then he does "Than I've Ever Been" before, and he does in the second the second chorus, he does that part. He drags it on again. And then I've ever been. And then I've ever been. Then I've ever been. Then he goes to another chorus part where he says, my heart is my armor. And he basically does the exact same first chorus over again. So it's going to be that G, A, B minor, A, D, A. And then on that D, after the D, A, he finishes the song with another D. So he goes, my heart is my armor. Then he goes to the B minor. Then the A. Then the D. And then at the end he goes, then I've ever been. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Hopefully you could follow along with that. I tried to make it as simple as possible. And if you enjoyed it and you figured out how to play it, make sure to give me a like and a subscribe. Comment for another tutorial. Tell me what you want to hear. See ya.